Remember the Jerusalema dance challenge? Yeah, I know most of you will remember. Chances are you or someone you knew was moving to that infectious rhythm. Officers lined up in formations, nurses dancing in hospital corridors, families learning the steps in their living rooms, police officers, flight attendants, factory workers, students, all stepped in sync to the same beat. But did you ever stop to ask, how did a song from a relatively unknown South African producer become a global anthem of unity? How did it captivate billions without traditional marketing? How did a track sung in Zulu transcend language barriers and dominate timelines from Angola to Italy, from Brazil to the United States? Today, we will uncover the incredible, against all odds journey behind one of the most important African songs of the 21st century, and how Master KG didn't just create a hit, he changed the global music playbook forever. Long before global recognition, Master KG, born Kagajelo Mwagi, sorry if I'm pronouncing it wrongly, was growing up in Limpopo, South Africa, a province rich in culture but far removed from global music industry pipelines. He didn't have access to elite studios or international mentors. What he had was passion and a deep connection to rhythms rooted in South Africa's evolving house music scene. South Africa's dance landscape had already produced Kwaito legends and Afro house pioneers. Amapiano was rising in the township streets. But Master KG's production leaned into something slightly different. A fusion of Afro house grooves layered with gospel emotion and spiritual undertones. When Jerusalema was produced in 2019, it wasn't designed as a crossover smash. There was no strategic attempts to westernize it. The beats remained authentically South African. The language remained isiZulu. Then entered Nomcebo Zikode. Her voice added transcendence. The lyrics reference Jerusalem as a spiritual home, not merely a city, but a symbol of divine refuge and eternal belonging. In essence, the song felt like a prayer wrapped inside a dance record. That contrast made it powerful because it was a club-ready rhythm, a faith-driven message, and locally, it resonated deeply across Southern Africa. It charted regionally, and it played in taxis and nightclubs. But still, it wasn't global, not just yet. Then came the moment no marketing strategy could predict. In Angola, a group of friends recorded themselves dancing in sync to Jerusalema. The choreography was clean, repeatable, and joyful. No professional lightings, no corporate sponsorships. They uploaded it, and the video exploded. Portugal picked up almost immediately due to its cultural ties with Angola, because Angola speaks Portuguese. From there, it spread to Spain, Italy, and then France. Soon, Germany, Belgium, and the UK joined. Latin America followed, then the Middle East. The choreography itself was key. It was a linear formation, coordinated footwork, easy side steps, repetition that encouraged mastery. You didn't need any dance training. You needed rhythm and community. Healthcare workers filmed themselves dancing during COVID-19 shifts. Police departments organized full unit performances. Airline crews line up on runways. Religious groups joined in church courtyards. The challenge wasn't about individual spotlight anymore. It was about collective synchronization. And that visual unity was magnetic. When Jerusalema began spreading globally in the early 2020s, the world was in crisis. Lockdowns emptied city streets. Airports shut down. Hospitals filled beyond capacity. Human interaction, something we had always taken for granted, suddenly became dangerous. The psychological weight of isolation was heavy. People weren't just afraid of the virus, they were afraid of disconnection. And then came this song. The lyrics delivered by Nomcebo Zikode carried a spiritual longing. Even for listeners who didn't understand Isuzulu, the tone felt reverent, almost sacred. It sounded like a prayer layered over a groove. At a time when traditional religious gatherings were restricted and community spaces were closed, Jerusalema offered something spiritually symbolic, without being tied to any single denomination. The dance challenge amplified the effect. Hospitals across Europe and Africa began filming their teams dancing in scrubs. In Italy, one of the hardest hit early countries, healthcare workers used the challenge as a moral booster. In France, police departments participated. It became a ritual of resistance against despair. The choreography itself reinforced unity. The dancers moved in rows, forward and back, symbolizing progression together. No solos, no spotlight momentum, just synchronized steps. And in a fragmented world, synchronization felt revolutionary. This wasn't just entertainment, it was emotional survival. The global music industry has long operated on gatekeeping systems. Executive decides which artists receive budget allocation. Radio programmers determine rotation. Marketing teams engineer virality through influencer seeding and paid partnerships. Jerusalema flipped that power structure. It didn't ask permission. By the time industry analysts began tracking its streaming data spikes, the movement had already gone multinational. Radio stations weren't leading demand, they were responding to it. Streaming platforms such as Spotify and Apple Music added it to global playlists because user engagement forced their algorithms to react. This was bottom-up globalization. When a remix featuring Burna Boy was later released, it helped extend commercial momentum. But the core phenomenon had already proven something critical. Audiences, empowered by social media, now control cultural velocity. The song's rise demonstrated that virality can originate outside Western markets. Language is no longer a barrier in streaming culture. User-generated content can outperform traditional marketing budgets. Community participation builds stronger longevity than paid exposure. It forced industry executives to rethink scouting strategies because suddenly labels were monitoring TikTok trends in Angola as closely as radio charts in New York. Then, the center of influence was shifting, and Jerusalema was proof. Let's look at the cultural repositioning that this song had brought. For decades, African rhythms have influenced global pop music. From percussion patterns in hip-hop to dance grooves in electronic music, the continent's sonic DNA has always been present, often without full credit. We know about so many stories of this, but Jerusalema was different. It didn't dilute itself for crossover appeal. The language remained in Isuzulu. The beat structure remained authentically South African. The production didn't chase Western pop convention, and yet it dominated global charts. That access repositioned African music from emerging market to global driver. International DJs began incorporating Afro house and Amapiano into major festival sets. Collaborations between African artists and global stars increased, Streaming data showed surging interest in South African playlists worldwide. And most importantly, it changed perception. African music was no longer viewed as regional. It was universal. Master KG's success signaled to the young producers across the continent that they didn't need to alter their identity to reach the world. Authenticity could scale. That message alone may be one of the song's greatest legacy, because it changed everything for most African producers and artists. Some people may ask why the virality of the song endured beyond the expected time, because in most cases, viral songs fade because they rely on novelty, shock value, humor, or memes. Jerusalema relied on sincerity. It wasn't ironic. It wasn't comedic. It wasn't tied to a fleeting internet joke. It was just emotionally grounded. The dance itself required collaboration because people had to practice together, coordinate, rehearse, film, and share. That level of effort created deeper attachment. Psychologically, participation builds ownership, and ownership builds longevity. When people hear Jerusalema years later, they don't just remember watching it. They remember being a part of the song. And they remember rehearsing steps in the kitchens, laughing through mistakes that they made, and sharing the final video. Receiving comments from friends across the continents and across the world, the song became embedded in personal memory and collective history. That's why it endured. Not because it trended, but because it connected everyone from every age group without any language barrier or any age or sex restriction. It was just a moment for people to relax and collectively enjoy themselves without thinking. Let's look at the enduring legacy of the song. As of 2026, Jerusalema remains a staple at global gatherings. Weddings still break into the choreography, graduation ceremonies still incorporate it, sporting events use it to energize crowds, corporate retreats revive the dance for team building exercises. But beyond events, play and playlists, its legacy lives in its symbolism, because it represents global unity during crisis, African excellence on the world stage, the democratization of music distribution, because nowadays you don't have to go through the channels of record labels, anyone, for your music to go viral and distribute it. And the power of authentic cultural expression. It stands alongside other historic global anthems, not because of record-breaking marketing budget, but because of emotional magnitude. A producer from Limpopo, a vocalist singing in Zulu, a dance born in Angola, a world in isolation. Together, they created one of the defining cultural moments of the pandemic era, and perhaps more importantly, one of the clearest examples that culture flows upward from the people and not downward from corporations. So yes, like I said in the beginning, forget everything you thought you knew about how hits are made, because Jerusalema didn't follow the blueprint. It rewrote it. It proved that authenticity can outperform advertising, that community can outperform corporations, that rhythm can travel faster than strategy. It shows us that language is not a limitation, emotion is the bridge, that geography is not boundary, the internet is the amplifier, that hope is not naive, it's powerful. When Master KG produced that beat in Limpopo, a small province in South Africa, he wasn't chasing a global phenomenon. He was creating from his own roots and culture. And when Nomcebo sang those words, she wasn't targeting a certain demographic or trying to impress the world. She was delivering a prayer The world responded not because it was told or it was advertised to them, but because it felt seen. And when rhythm meets authenticity, when culture meets timing, when hope meets a hungry world, miracles are made. And sometimes, the whole world dances. If you like content like this, please don't forget to subscribe and leave a comment below. Let me know which artist you will want me to cover next. Thanks for watching and see you on the next.